Thanks, Darryl. I won't keep you long, partly because there's a risk of another shower, and also because I'm not sure my voice is going to hold out. I want to start by congratulating, as Darryl has done, but actually to add one and all to his list of campaigns on the libraries, and I've had a mention so far today as far as I can see. Because like with the cuts to disabled children's transport, which has also been put back by a year, the fact that the Labour Council was put under pressure to concede even that 1 year is a testament to the campaigns that people in those areas have mounted. And now what we have to do is bring the same pressure on for every community centre, family centre, children's centre, adult education centre in this city, because all those public buildings, the 1,000 council workers who work in them, are essential services for us and our families, and are not to be sacrificed to pay off the gambling debts of bankers who in the 2008 had gambled and speculated the money and brought this country economically to its knees. It's going to cost me a pint, that is, at the end. I happen to think, by the way, that one of the reasons that on the libraries and the disabled children's transport a reprieve of a year has been given is to a certain extent making a virtue out of necessity, because now, having started off by saying there would be no consultation on any of these closures, the council have been forced to concede they're going to have to listen to people in local areas, and that takes time. But we're also only a couple of months away from a general and a local elections. And if there's one thing councillors fear, every councillor on that council up for election this May is set to receive £50,000 in wages and allowances in a 4-year term. And it's things like that that concentrate their minds when thousands of people are signing petitions, when hundreds of people are signing social media websites or letters to the local papers. And I have to say about the cuts that the council are making, it doesn't matter to me, and I don't think it matters to any single family in this city, whether the decisions to cut the libraries, the community centres and the other essential services in Coventry are made enthusiastically by Tories and Liberals down in Westminster, or with heavy hearts by Labour councillors in the council house behind us. It hurts families just as much, no matter how much they're wringing their hands when they're making those cuts. Now, these cuts aren't necessary. In the last 4 years, the council has doubled the reserves of Coventry City Council, the unrestricted, unallocated reserves, the cash in the bank they can choose how to spend, in 4 years from 44 million to 81 million pounds. In that same 4 years, they found 14.5 million pounds to restructure the loan for the management company at the Rico. They found £6.5 million to give a soft loan to the private hotel that runs that hotel at Kumari. Now, in 4 years, they've lent £20 million of the city's money. They've doubled the reserves from 44 to 81 million pound, and they tell us they still have to make 15 million pounds worth of cuts next Tuesday. Them sums don't add up. If they wanted to, this is what our petition calls for, if they wanted to buy some time, they could use some of that 81 million pound reserves and stop not just the libraries for a year, but all the planned closures that they're going to take next Tuesday. Now, I think they could and should do that, because you'd think, wouldn't you, that with an election coming up in May, it would make a difference who won that election. If you were a Labour council, having a go against the Tories down in Westminster, making all these cuts, you'd think that if your lot got in on May, it would make a difference. So you'd use some reserves, you'd buy a bit of time. When the next lot got in May, they could refund the money to councils, to reopen the services that we've lost already, to protect the jobs and the wages and the conditions of those who work in the council services as well. But there's a problem, isn't there? Unfortunately, we know that however we vote in May, all the big four parties, Tories and UKIP, Labour and Liberal Democrats, have all said austerity has to continue. And if we wanted our noses rubbing in it, we got it last month when George Osborne put a bill through Parliament to make it a legal requirement that we paid enough into the government for them to balance the books after they paid off the gambling debts of the bankers by the end of the next Parliament. It meant an extra £30 billion of cuts. It went through as a new law in Parliament, and only 5 Labour MPs out of the hundreds in Parliament voted against it. All the MPs from all the parties told us whatever we vote in May, they're coming for even more cuts. The Institute of Fiscal Studies says we've only had 40% of the cuts they're planning. 60% are still to come. So that's the problem we face. Well, I want to finish with this. What can we do about it? Well, as Darryl says, we've been running this petition. We've got it over here on the stall. It's online on the council website. We've got about 500 signatures on the council website, and at least, I don't know, 1,000 or so on paper. I'm presenting it to the Cabinet at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. If you haven't yet signed it, please sign it before you go. Perhaps take one with you, bring it down to the council house by 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. Now, some people will say that petitions are not the strongest way of fighting the cuts. And I know that. I presented Coventry's biggest ever petition in our history, 40,000 signatures at my first council meeting in 1998 against the bulldozing of Commonwealth Hospital and turning Walsgrove into a private PFI hospital. And that was only a quarter of the signatures we collected in 10 years. 162,000 signatures. Still, they knocked our hospital down in the town centre and built one up at Walsgrove that cost us 10 quid to go park in, and he's won more for the profits of private companies now than it's won for the real needs of working people. So I know petitions, no matter how big they get, sometimes aren't listened to, but there's 2 good reasons for petitions, I still think. One, every one of those library campaigners here today who got one person to sign their petition had a conversation with that person to explain why it was important. They became the ambassadors for the real anti-austerity campaign that Coventry needs to explain why our public services are so essential. So we carry on doing petitions for that reason. We also do them because still, we could get rid of it, but still in this city, it's a rule that if more than 6 of you sign a petition and put it in the council, the officers have to write a report, the councillors have to have a public committee meeting, and they have to listen to your argument on your petition. And again I say to you, every community centre, every children's centre, every family centre, every adult education centre has to follow the same path as the library campaigners have started off doing. Get those campaigns running in order to keep the pressure on the council itself. And the last point I want to make is this. That keeps the issue alive. What forces a change in politicians' minds is when a bigger force comes up against them than they think is already on their side. And I think the biggest way that's going to be achieved is through working people inside the services of the council and the public services in general, but the rest of us in society at all, standing up in industrial action that takes local and national politicians on. And I'll put it this way, I think those who work in the libraries, the community centres, sweep the streets, the lollipop ladies and men, all them essential people in our town, they should stand up and fight for their jobs. But they shouldn't do it alone. The jobs they're doing are on our behalf. They're looking after our old folk. They're looking after our young kids. They're making us safe when we cross the roads. They're cooking the meals for our elderly or whatever it is. It's all our responsibility to stand shoulder to shoulder with council workers, and if they decide industrial action is necessary to stop this council making the cuts, the people of Coventry, in my view, should come out and support them like we've done with the firefighters and other public sector workers in recent months. And I've gone on for far too long, so this is my very last pitch. What happens then? What are we doing now? If I'm right, and all the big parties have got the same diet planned for us, whatever happens in May, how do we make a difference? The late, great Bob Crow, General Secretary of the Transport Union, the RMT, thought about this, and 5 years ago came up with an idea. He said, the Society of Railway Servants, 114 years ago, couldn't see the difference between Tories and Liberals, and so they started the Labour Party. Today, the RMT, the modern equivalent of the Society of Railway Servants, has been saying to all of us, and I agree with them, that they can't see the difference between Tory, Labour and Liberal Democrats, and they think working people deserve better than that. So on May, the elections, the general and the local, alongside the RMT, socialists in this country, in 100 parliamentary seats and 1,000 council seats, trade unionists and socialist candidates will take an alternative anti-austerity message to working people in the election. We're going a bit Greek in May. We're going to bring a bit of anti-austerity politics to Coventry and every major town and city in the country. If the politicians currently in office won't do the decent thing and stand up for the services of working people, tell them to get out the road and let's elect people who will. Thanks a lot.